Welcome back. You're watching To The Point. Joining me now to discuss Justice Kardju's revelations and how politicians and the judiciary should respond is former Attorney General Soli Sorabji, former Solicitor General Harish Salve, and former Law Minister Salman Khurshid. Soli Sorabji, do you believe Justice Kardju's story, which claims that 3 former Chief Justices of India, Lahoti Sabharwal and Balakrishnan, and 1 former acting Chief Justice of the Madras High Court, knowingly and deliberately made compromises to protect and promote a judge against whom there were serious corruption charges? Do you believe that story?
No, I do not. The whole basis for Justice Kardju to say this is that there was an IB report which was adverse. Now, Justice Kardju thinks IB report is gospel. Now, I don't say IB reports should be put in the waste paper basket, but I'll give you an example. There was a lawyer who was proposed to be elevated to the High Court. He never took any drinks or teetotaler, and his friends called him a boozer. And in the IB report, I know of my own knowledge, he is a drunkard. He's known to be a drunkard. All the lawyers call him a boozer. That's your IB report. Another thing, if this was such an important matter, there's no use saying better late than never. I would say sooner the better.
I take your point. Let's separate.
Keep quiet for so many years.
Let's separate the veracity of the story from the timing of the revelation. I'll come to timing in a moment's time. Salman Khurshid, let me put you the same question I put to Soli Sorabji. Do you believe Justice Kardju's story that as Prime Minister in 2005, Dr. Manmohan Singh knowingly protected a corrupt judge and through one of his ministers coerced the then Chief Justice to give the judge an extension?
I think the word coerced is perhaps out of place. But your first question, I tend to agree with my friend Soli Sorabji. I think that his experience, vast experience of over the years, the kind of things that one has heard, sometimes completely unjustified, and how that filters into even official briefings or into reports of the Intelligence Bureau. I think there's a vast lot of information and material on this, and I don't think we should jump to any conclusions.
Okay.
And to the extent that there is some communication between the executive and the judiciary in matter of appointments, I don't think that we should automatically consider that to be unwholesome or unacceptable. But I think all this, of course, requires some more discussion.
Harish Salve, you've heard a very clear note of dissent, if not even disbelief, from both Soli Sorabji and Salman Khurshid. Now, in that interview that I did with Justice Kardju, he says that critical proof of his story is the existence of an IB report indicting the judge for corruption. Kardju says if despite that report, the judge was A, extended and then promoted, his story stands proven. Do you accept that?
Let me say 2 things, Karan, before I answer your question. I don't think Justice Kardju has done himself any favors by willing to wound but afraid to strike. He refused to disclose the name of the judge. However, the judicial record in a judgment of the Supreme Court relating to a challenge presented to the elevation of one Justice Ashok Kumar has a full discussion of this kind of repeated extensions being granted to a judge of the Madras High Court. And it's again a matter of public record that Justice Ashok Kumar had granted bail to Mr. Karunanidhi. Now, if you put these pieces together, and I stop one stop short of the IB report, what was the reason why repeatedly Chief Justices did not find him good enough for permanent judgeship, kept giving him extension after extension after extension, and then finally appointed him to as a permanent judge, admittedly without consulting the collegium. And the union government justified it as saying in 350 such cases it has been done. While Justice Kardju owes an explanation for his timing, I think the issue he has raised relating to the working of the collegiate system is far too serious to be brushed aside.
So, in a nutshell, before I go back to Soli Sorabji and before I go back to Salman Khurshid, what you're saying to me, Harish Salve, is that you believe the story, you think it has credibility. Even if the timing is questionable, the veracity you accept. Is that a
It
yes?
calls for serious verification. You can't brush it aside.
Soli Sorabji, you completely disbelieve the
Because there
story.
is something on the judicial record.
Soli Sorabji, you completely disbelieve the story. You've just heard Harish Salve say there is something in the judicial record that clearly suggests that in fact there is credibility and truth behind this story, and in fact that's underlined by the manner in which this one judge got what many consider unjustified extension after extension. How do you respond to a view that's quite the opposite of yours?
No, I don't disagree with Harish, but what I mean to say is, what Kaju is saying is he's cast aspersions, allegations on 3 Chief Justices and attacked the collegiate system as they operated it. Now he was a beneficiary of the collegiate system because appointed the High Judge of the Supreme Court when Chief Justice Sabharwal was the Chief Justice. And it's no use saying better late than never. As I said, if he thought it was such an important matter that the people of India should know, then it was his duty. Then sooner the better.
Well, I'll come to timing in a moment's time. But let me put this to you. You began by saying you agree with Harish Salve, but Harish Salve actually took a very different line to yours. So are you not in a sense contradicting yourself? Because you didn't believe the story, Harish Salve does.
No, Harish Salve, I don't think we are in contradiction. On the facts of the case, Harish Salve may be justified. I'm on the question of the principle.
What do you mean principle?
That the sitting judge of the Supreme Court, former judge of the Supreme Court, making allegations against former Chief Justices, and that's what happens anytime.
You mean it breaks an esprit de corps?
Report.
Are you suggesting this breaks an esprit de corps, that a retired judge shouldn't raise questions about fellow judges or former Chief Justices? It's bad form. Is that what you're saying?
No, not bad form. If it's true, it's imperative. But it must be done at the earliest.
All right. So you're back.
You're back
to timing. You're back to timing. Salman Khurshid, before I come to timing, let me stick to the issue of substance. Your former colleague and former Law Minister H.R. Bhardwaj has told at least 2 other channels that he accepts that in his time in 2005 there was a certain judge who he's also named as Ashok Kumar. So both Harish Salve and Mr. Bhardwaj have named the man as Ashok Kumar, and he accepts that in 2005 DMK MPs and other MPs who he describes as scheduled caste and scheduled tribe MPs put pressure for this man to be extended. Doesn't that therefore prove that Justice Katju's story is right?
Karan, I'm not quite sure that I'm not to sit in judgment on someone of the eminence of Justice Kaju, nor for that matter to accept any allegations against former Chief Justices. I don't think any one of us have enough information to be able to do that. It's another matter if you think that somebody should delve into this in greater detail and come out with the truth. But I would say this to you, that in the entire process of appointment of judges, there are lots of people, senior lawyers, retired judges, sitting judges, various other people who have opinions about who would be a good judge and who ought to be elevated. And sometimes people disagree, and sometimes they disagree because of political perceptions and ideology.
Okay.
But I think to put all that towards undesirable interference or unwholesome interference, or as an indication or a symptom of corruption, I think that's really going too far. I'm not saying that you shouldn't question some of these things, that they shouldn't be exposed, but I'm not quite sure, as far as the judiciary is concerned, that is the best way to do it is to do it in front of television cameras, and to say things which are difficult to confirm and difficult to conclusively prove.
Why is it the wrong thing to do it in front of television cameras and to do it in public? Unless, of course, your concern is that you must protect judges, even when those judges have colluded or compromised on principles.
No, I think that every institution, particularly the judiciary, must have a certain level of dignity that's preserved. But dignity not to put a shroud or a cover over something that's unlawful or illegal. There must be proper procedures.
Okay.
And I think certainly you might consider me old-fashioned, but I don't think newspaper channels, newspaper columns, and the television cameras are the best places for us to debate these issues.
All right, gentlemen, let's move beyond the question of the veracity of Justice Karju's story to the timing of it.
Karan, 1 second.
Go ahead, Mr. Salve, go ahead.
I want to read 4 lines from paragraph 14 of the Supreme Court judgment in Ashok Kumar's case.
Go ahead.
Since it is crystal clear that judges are not concerned with any political angle, if there be any, in the matter of appointment of additional judge or permanent judge, the then Chief Justice should have stuck to the view expressed by the collegium and should not have been swayed by the views of the government to recommend extension of the term of respondent 2, that's Ashok Kumar, for 1 year, as it amounts to surrender of primacy by jugglery of words.
Can I just add something and get
These
you
are
to...
Supreme Court's words.
Can I add something and get you confirm that for me, Mr. Salve? That quotation that you read out proves 2 things. One, it proves that in fact the Chief Justice of the time did fall under the pressure or coercion of the government to change the collegium's decision and extend Ashok Kumar. And secondly, it proves that subsequently the Supreme Court thought that this decision by the Chief Justice was a wrong decision. It proves both, doesn't it?
See, it's very clear, Karan. The collegium, according to me, also acted somewhat strangely. If he was not good enough to be made a permanent judge, he should have been discontinued. But they kept continuing him, and finally the Chief Justice on his own, without consulting the collegium, makes him a permanent judge.
Absolutely.
And this is what the Supreme Court had to say. Now whether you call it coercion, you call it persuasion.
But you know what you've just done? You have conclusively, by quoting from the Supreme Court, proved that Justice Karju's story is correct. You've got the Supreme Court, in fact, giving evidence there in that quotation that what happened was wrong and it happened...
He's talking of the same person.
Well, yes, he is, because Mr. Bharadwaj referred to him as Ashok Kumar, and although Mr. Karju has not named him, it sounds very similar to, in fact, the story he's telling. So you've just proven by reading the Supreme Court quotation that this story is correct. Let's move on beyond the veracity, because I think that quotation proves the veracity, and come, Soli Sorabji, to the question of timing. Both you and Mr. Salve are concerned about timing, but Justice Karju, when asked, says that he... Well, I'm going to quote him from memory, so I want to be absolutely sure I'm quoting him correctly. When asked by me, he said that, in fact, better late than never, and then he added that how does it matter when the revelation happened, provided the revelation is true? Do you accept those 2 explanations for the fact the story is being revealed 9 years after it happened?
Yeah. Karan, you asking me?
Yes, I am.
Well, yes, but let me make it clear. I don't attribute any political motivation to Karju. That he's done that because UPA is no longer in power and NDA is in power. I don't appreciate that. The question is, if he says there's such an important thing and he knew about it, wasn't it necessary, imperative to make this? Wasn't it his duty to bring these facts out? And he failed in his duty. He's equally guilty of dereliction of duty by remaining, putting a silent veil over his face.
Can I interrupt? He says it never occurred. Can I interrupt? Can I interrupt? He says it never occurred to him to reveal this earlier. Do you buy that line, that it never occurred to him?
Oh, that's absurd. Never occurred to him. What was he doing?
All right. Let me put that same question to you, Harish Salve. Does the fact that Justice Karju may be out to malign Congress and Dr. Manmohan Singh, or he's out to seek favor with the BJP and Mr. Modi, undermine the story?
Karan, as far as a citizen of India, I say better late than never. And thank God it has come out at least now. But I don't think Justice Kadju has done himself any favors by the kind of answers he gave you. And if you apply the same principle, then I think he also has some answers to give, failing which a similar adverse inference will have to be drawn that he has some motive which he is not talking about.
I'm going to, before I expand further, put that same question to you as well, Salman Khurshid, because you're a member of a party, the Prime Minister of which is being suggested by Mr. Kadju, compromised on principles, attempted to coerce a Chief Justice to get a corrupt judge's tenure extended. What do you think could be Justice Kadju's motivations in making this public after Congress fell from office? After all, he had 9 years to do it when you were in office and he never chose to do it then. 2 months after you fall, he's made it public. What do you think his motivations could be, and do you think they're suspicious?
I think we are just looking for something that doesn't exist there. This is like chasing the Phantom of the Opera. Of course, there are some people who will question the timing and will therefore link it with some motives. I think I'm more interested in the issue of no matter when and how and by whom, is it the best thing to do for our country and our judiciary to be washing dirty linen in public in this manner, which is not to say that you keep it secret and you don't let it get out, but I think we just need proper procedures, and I think you need to talk about the larger principle rather than pin everything on the motives or the timing or the actual substantive merit of one particular single case. I think people who are involved in judicial administration know that there are a lot of very complicated features, all of which are not easy to explain on a television channel, and all of which we are familiar with. Every judge's appointment, there are all kinds of factors that are considered. But I think this is for a larger debate rather than a debate which is pinned upon something like this that's happened today.
Let me go back to Harish Salve on that point. Harish Salve, Salman Khurshid says that washing judicial dirty linen in public is inappropriate and wrong. It damages the high image of the judiciary. But in fact, this dirty linen, if you look at the Supreme Court records, and the quotation that you read out to me a moment ago was actually already in public. All Justice Kadju has done is to draw our attention to what was known but perhaps not fully understood and not fully revealed. So is this washing dirty linen in public?
You provoked me to saying something which I resisted last time. You are right that this dirty linen has been in public for some time. But one more dirty piece of linen has come out. Chief Justices who are party to this process, Chief Justices of High Court who know what is going on, are happy to continue within the system, happy to be elevated, happy to sit in the court, and after a long span, does their conscience wake up and make them speak? I am sorry, there is something really wrong in the state of Denmark.
One quick question to you, Harish Salve. I'm talking not just about these Chief Justices and judges who were aware that something wrong had happened and kept quiet and didn't speak out. I'm also talking about Justice Kadju, who knew for 9 years that something wrong had happened and didn't speak out. Do all of them, in a sense, become accessories to wrongdoing? People who are involved in covering up and hiding a wrongdoing which they had a moral duty to reveal?
Absolutely. I mean, if we, the judiciary today, day in and day out, pulls up the executive government and draws adverse inference and has enforced accountability at the highest level. I'm sorry, this sort of thing puts a shadow on the working of the judiciary, and I think the functionaries concerned should come out with a white paper on what happened and clear the air as soon as possible.
Solis Sorabji, for the record, both Justice Lohoti and Justice Balakrishnan have denied the allegations or the story about them as reported by Justice Kadju in the Times of India today. As far as I know, Justice Sabharwal is silent. But given that Justice Sabharwal and Justice Balakrishnan face serious allegations of their own, although connected to completely different matters, how do you respond to their denials?
Well, Karan, is very difficult. I'm not sitting in judgment as to whether denial is correct or not, but prima facie, I would accept the denial. But let me tell you, all this really leads to the conclusion that we need to replace the collegium system, which obviously has not worked
Absolutely.
satisfactorily for one reason or the other, and have a good National Commission for Judicial Appointment. Now, the composition of the commission is another matter which we'll discuss on another occasion, and that commission should act in a transparent manner. That's the whole thing. I don't advocate the American system of cross-examining the judges and all that, but if only one good thing Kharju has done is, it has highlighted the necessity of revisiting the collegium system and having somebody else in its place, a good national commission properly manned.
So, Salman Khurshid, Soli Sorabji is drawing the lesson from this entire unsavory episode that we need to expedite the creation of a National Judicial Commission. It's something that your government, when it was in power, tried to do, but you were unable to push the bills through Parliament. If the BJP takes up that course, as they say they will Congress fully support that endeavour?
Well, I'd imagine, broadly speaking, yes, but frankly, this is a decision that will have to be taken by our parliamentary party. But since we are committed to reform of the judicial appointment procedure, we would broadly be with them on this. But you know, last time that we tried to do it, the lack of consensus came not just from other parties, but also from the BJP.
Sure, but
and the lack of consensus came also from the senior judiciary.
I take your point.
I think you need a very sensible way of reaching out to people, bringing everybody on board, and then bringing in legislation that keeps everyone in a state of comfort. That there will not be a violation of the freedom of the judiciary.
I understand. I want to ask you another quick question before I go to Harish Salve and ask a very similar quick question as well. The question I want to ask you, Salman Khurshid, is this. The National Judicial Commission will take a while before it happens. It could take 6 months, it could take a year, it could take more. Leave that aside. In the meantime, there are serious allegations about a former Prime Minister, about 3 former Chief Justices. How should the sitting government of the day respond to these serious allegations made by Mr. Kharju? A quick answer to that, Salman Khurshid.
No, I don't think that you should elevate Mr. Kharju's propositions to a level of serious allegations of corruption. As I said, there are lots of pulls and pressures in appointments of judges, and anyone who denies this is being hypocritical. And I don't think this should be equated with corruption. You might consider that being unacceptable, improper, politically incorrect, but I don't think it's corruption, and I don't think we should drag the name of our former Chief Justices into this kind of light conversation.
Harish Salve, the question I want to put to you is this. There are serious allegations about 3 former Chief Justices made by a fellow brother judge who sat with them on Supreme Court benches, and therefore a man whose view and opinion will be trusted by the Indian public. How should the sitting Supreme Court of today respond to these allegations?
Well, my view is somewhat different in this, Karan. I believe sunlight is the best disinfectant. And this is a situation which calls for sunlight. Not closing the door and drawing the blinds.
Spell out what you mean in a brief 1-minute answer. Are you calling for the Supreme Court to carry out a formal, transparent investigation?
It's a matter of record. See, certain things which he says about somebody meeting the Prime Minister, etc., are things which he is alleging. What exactly happened? What are the reasons on file for which these extensions were given? Is there an IB report on file? Is there no IB report on file? What was the process followed? Let it all come out in public. The government has the record, the court has the record.
In other words, you're calling for a full disclosure by the Supreme Court under the authority of the sitting Chief Justice of today. Is that right?
I think that would be a wonderful solution.
All right, Harish Salve, my thanks to you. My thanks also to Soli Sorabji and Salman Khurshid. And if you have been, thanks for watching. Goodbye. Good night.